Are you a Keynesian?
Come on, Greg, you know better than to
how
throw
can
these
Canadians
insults.
be presented?
We've got some massive fallout here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we're getting rumors of more conservatives potentially going over to the Liberal Party. What is Carney offering to these people? Carney does a press conference. He addresses the Chris d'Entremont situation. Let's jump into this.
Desjardins Economics, their budget reaction was that it was more of the same and a missed opportunity. Others in the business community were similarly underwhelmed in their reaction. Do you think you might have overhyped this budget?
Look, this budget is a sea change in the approach for the government. Let me give you a couple of elements of that. First, just on the spending side, that shift from 8% spending growth, which has been the case year after year, that's the average for the last decade. We're shifting on a go-forward basis to less than 1% spending, operational spending, first point.
This is more dirty tactics. Mark Carney separating operational capital spend and then moving things into different categories that best suits the numbers for him.
What's the current state of, I guess, your communication with the U.S. president in terms of reviving trade talks?
Look at that little duper's delight. You see that again? Watch his mouth here very carefully when he gets asked about Donald Trump. Why would he smile about not getting a deal?
I guess your communication with the U.S. president in terms of reviving trade talks.
We'll see. It's the talks are not yet revived. I last spoke to the U.S. president a few days ago in Asia.
The talks are not yet revived, but he smiled about that. Everything's going to plan. So maybe he's got two plans here. One, he's trying to pull over conservatives or maybe bloc or NDP to get a majority. If that doesn't work, he goes to an election. Then him and Donald Trump do a deal in the middle of that election, and then he looks like a hero. This guy's probably got plan A, plan B, plan C. That's nothing to smile about though, Carney. People have lost their jobs and they're losing their houses. This is not a funny thing. But to him, he knows he's making a ton of money. Crap tons of money. Next up, we've got Carney noticeably getting rattled. He gets pissed off. He tries to hide it with a smile. Notice when he gets asked this question, a question he doesn't like, he looks for the mouse under the podium. He always does it.
Liberals writ large have run deficits for a decade now. This is also one of the largest deficits outside of COVID. Is there a philosophy behind this? Are you into modern monetary theory? Are you a Keynesian?
Come on, Greg, you know better than to
how
throw
can
these
Canadians
insults.
be presented with continuing budget deficits with no plan to balance?
That's okay. All right. First,
he looks pissed off here. You see that mouth soothing there where he's like flicking his tongue around inside his mouth? Face changed pretty quick.
okay. All right. First, we have the best balance sheet in the G7. We have one of the best in the OECD, so the 30 countries of the OECD. We have the second lowest deficit in the G7. We have one of the lowest deficits in the OECD. That continues to be the case over the forecast period. We are getting spending under control by eliminating duplication, eliminating waste, cutting red tape. Any deficit financing is for the investment that is going to grow this economy. And that's the amount that leads to that $1 trillion of overall investment, which is worth only half of that amount. You'll find that in the budget documents. Hopefully you were in the lockup for several hours and you had time to read it.
That $1 trillion, he wants to drive that into those green funds that he's invested in off the back end. This is all just a grift so he can get rich. We got table salt with this one. It says the weasel Chris d'Entremont took thousands of dollars in donations from his constituents in April and voted against every Liberal bill, only to stab them in the back for greed. The Conservatives didn't want him as Speaker. He took that personally, and he's gone to the other side. Now, we have to remember at the beginning, when Mark Carney got in, they asked him, are you going to be looking for the NDP for their support to pull some of them over or to make a deal with the NDP? And he basically said, I don't need the NDP. So I wonder if there's been a strategy the entire time here. Because it seems Mark Carney doesn't care about any of this, so clearly he has another strategy. It's sad when you have Conservatives giving money, $1,000, $350, $250,000, $500, only to get stabbed in the back. I gotta wonder if these people can have a class action lawsuit against this, because you're taking people's money and then you're misrepresenting the vote. If anything, this should just go to a by-election. This floor crossing bullcrap should not be allowed, because we don't know if Mark Carney's offering him millions of dollars in some offshore tax haven to do this. And the easy way to get around this is not allow floor crossing. What did he get for crossing the floor? A cabinet position, anything? So legally it's not allowed to give him a cabinet position, but you can wait a couple months, then he'll get one down the road. But if he doesn't get one, then what was he getting? Is there any way to sue donations received under false pretense? I mean, that's what I'm wondering. Sue him small claims court for money back. I mean, it's just outrageous. I mean, look at this one Tracy posting. This is coming from a campaign volunteer from D'Entremont. It says, Tracy, I've never felt so used. I worked my butt off to get him that seat. Only a difference of 500 votes, and then he gives it away. How the hell do we move forward from here? Yeah, and he took all the money and he ran. This should all be against the law. It should just be by-election. That's it. Look what happened with that Liberal judge siding in Terrebonne, and now we got rumors of more floor crossers. Our country is so corrupt, it's unbelievable. The Prime Minister is getting away with direct, rampant conflicts of interest, but because they know how to skirt the law, they're skirting the law. And yet even some of these are not skirting the law, and somehow they still get away with them. Like the Red Chris mine. Carney named this. Why isn't he being charged for this? Even that phony, baloney $500 ethics violation at least would be on his record. Meanwhile, how are Carney's stocks doing here? Brookfield Corporation up 30%. It's a good day to own BWX Technologies. So we got the trader speaking here today. What does he have to say? It's all about himself.
What was the deciding factor in crossing the floor? And if you could also indulge, how many other conservatives in your caucus feel the same way that you do?
Well, let's start with the story of how I got here. I would think over the last number of months, I wasn't feeling that I was aligned with the ideals of what the leader of the opposition had been talking about. So,
but you were aligned 7 months ago when you got elected. This guy's a traitor. He's a charlatan and he's a liar. Maybe he's aligning better more with Mark Carney because Carney's such a liar.
I've been sort of relooking at, what my career is bringing and what I can do for my constituency. So
he just said it, what my career is bringing. This is all a career move. He thinks he can draw out his career longer. We need to absolutely bury this guy's career for doing this.
The last little bit, talking to many of my friends in the Liberal Party. As Deputy Speaker, I got to know a lot of those members personally, ask questions, see what's going on, and understanding the point that we are in Canadian history, where it's time to actually try to lead a country, to try to make it better, and not try to knock it down, not to continue to be negative. In my case, as a Nova Scotian.
Negative. There's people ending their lives because things are so bad. This guy's a loser. Weak men make hard times.
We're always trying to find ways to work together to solve the issues that are important to our communities. And I didn't see it by sitting in the opposition. I saw it by being a part of the government caucus.
This is so weak. This guy betrayed his constituents, people who worked their butts off to get him in that position. He has the audacity to say that.
The crossing of the floor by MP Chris D'Entremont. He's jumping ship, joining the Liberals. What's your reaction?
I'm speechless. You know why? Because when conservatives talk about affordability and when they talk about making fiscal decisions that serve the broader interest, there's a cost to borrowing, right? And this MP knows that. He's not blind to what does growing the debt beyond $1.3 trillion do to our country. What this budget does, let's be clear, we are spending more now servicing our debt than we are on Canada Health transfers. So we're spending more paying off debt, paying off reckless spending than we are on hospitals and nurses and doctors. We're spending more on debt than we take in GST. That's what it means. There's real life implications for these decisions.
But do you see his point? He said earlier this morning when asked why he was doing this, I'll ask you about the leadership factor in just a second. He said he was doing it for the members of his riding, those constituents who are in the military, those families that are struggling with affordability. That was part of the reason why he decided to join the Liberals and support this budget.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to disagree on that one because he knew exactly what he was getting with the Conservative caucus when he decided to run as a Conservative.
And run 7 months ago. This wasn't like it was 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago. This is 7 months ago.
We've watched what he has said over the last 6 months since the election about Conservative principles. He's doing this because it's politically expedient for his own personal gain. That's why he's doing it.
What's he gaining? He was asked by reporters if he was going to get a cabinet position. He said no. He was just going to join caucus. He didn't say.
Right, yeah. He legally has to say that. They legally can't offer him anything. So let's see how this shakes out for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. Let's see if he gets anything. And that's not the point. The decision of one MP to make a bad decision across the floor isn't really the point. The point is that this budget increases spending to rates that our country cannot afford. And there are policy pieces in this budget that Conservatives like, right? This would be a budget that we would like to support. They're getting rid of the emissions cap. They are increasing the conditions to want to bring in foreign direct investment. But the spending cannot be ignored. And if we don't have a country that's being run by somebody who understands what it means to spend beyond our means, this is a very basic principle, our country economically is doomed.
Yeah, she dropped some serious truth bombs here. That budget is awful. As we see Pierre posting today, healthcare, $54.7 billion. And Mark Carney's generational investment, debt interest, $55.6 billion. We're spending more money on interest. This is like credit card payments. Anyone who knows anything about having a credit card and those payments, which is basically everyone, the longer you let that run on there, the more it accrues, the more expensive it gets. You need to pay that off. Unfortunately, Canadians are pushed to the brink right now where many Canadians are using their credit cards just to be able to feed themselves. And we've got weak men like Chris D'Entremont here giving the middle finger to Canadians and going over to the dark side.
Sorry, and just in terms of how many other Conservatives feel the same way that you do that are currently sitting in caucus?
Yeah, I would suggest that there probably are those that are in the same boat, but I will let them tell their stories if that time comes.
The Conservative leadership style perhaps push you out of caucus?
Well, I think that's probably a part of it. I didn't find I was represented there. That my ideals of an Easterner, of a red Tory, I mean, quite honestly, of trying to find ways to find solutions and help your community rather than trying to oppose everything that's happening. And
so he decided to betray his community instead, get them to help him get elected, take their money, and then screw them over. This guy is such a self-serving weasel.
May not be Larissa just one MP. I'm sure that you have also followed our reporting this morning that there are a number of other Conservatives who are considering following suit and joining the Liberals. What does that say to you about the strength of Pierre Poilievre's leadership?
Yeah, I mean, so being a Conservative isn't about one person, and being a Conservative isn't about one leader. It's not about one caucus. It's about feeling a certain way about how to govern a country. I feel a certain way about how I want my Prime Minister to govern the country. I think Pierre Poilievre would be the right guy to govern the country. If people disagree, they disagree, right? It's unfortunate that those people ran as Conservatives because we know that when people vote, they vote something like 80 to 90% for the party, and that last piece is for the person. So I think it's a very dishonest way of getting into government. If you want to join the Liberal caucus, I personally think you should run as a Liberal.
That's well said. I mean, not talking about how awful Carney's budget is, there's almost nothing in the budget for Canadians. Carney's just dishing out more money to big businesses. He's tightening the tax rules to benefit Brookfield. Eco-green companies can write off huge investments with zero tax. And as we dig through it, there's more and more garbage in there that doesn't serve Canadians.
Why do you think we haven't heard from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on this move?
On which move? The leader?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he gave a response to the budget in the House. I don't think he's going to comment on this. There's no benefit to him doing the rounds right now on television talking about this. His focus is on talking about the budget and the implications of the budget on households. There isn't a family in the country that's sitting around the kitchen table worried about what the MP from Nova Scotia is doing. They're worried about how they're going to pay for their grocery bills. They're worried about how they're going to afford tuition. They're worried if they don't have a doctor. And this budget doesn't do anything for them. One MP from Nova Scotia or anybody else isn't helping Canadians across the country. That's what Pierre Poilievre is focused on.
These people are special kind of awful. Supporting all this while Canadians are suffering. 1 in 4 can't afford food. I'm just disgusted by some of the people in our country. Jumping over to Mark Carney's press conference on this, he's asked about the situation. Listen to his first few words here. Carney tends to telegraph exactly what he's thinking, whether he likes it or not.
I will repeat that. Chris's decision to join the government caucus at this crucial moment for our country is exceptionally valuable and important.
exceptionally valuable. It's going to be absolutely invaluable to have a majority government that he can roll out this net zero agenda, profit off of the back end of everything here. His eco-green agenda, his shares in Stripe. Carney's been probably working this plan out with all these guys, this whole system. He's been designing this for probably a decade or more, and now he's fully rolling it out, and people do not know what's going on. They see a couple clips on CBC, and they're like, oh, he said generational investment. It must be good for Canada.
History of nations, they're punctuated by hinge moments, times when the future hangs in the balance and when our actions must be decisive. Canada is facing one of these moments right now. Technological change is accelerating, the world is more divided and dangerous, and the global trading system is literally being rewired, threatening jobs and businesses under a cloud of uncertainty.
This guy's using fear tactics from WW2. So I don't know if he's actually campaigning for another election, because it seems like we got floor crossers here and that's all he needs. So what's really going on here? What's going on in the back end? What's going on in Bermuda or the Cayman Islands? Is this just a case of greed? Did Chris just leave for pure greed? He thinks he can be a politician longer as a liberal. So we got this one here. Dimitri Soudis, former Harper comms guy, told Radio Canada this morning that he's hearing Conservative MP Matt Genereux will cross the floor to the Liberals today. But Matt Genereux is on Pierre's shadow cabinet. We also have Shreya Teese commenting on this. There's another post here from Nathan B saying supposedly 3 more MPs are set to cross the floor today. Matt Genereux, Dominique Vane, and Joe Godin. Now, it's important not to go after these people unless this stuff happens. You want to rip them a new one afterwards, by all means, rip Chris D'Entremont a new one. I sure did. But Shreya Teese saying he doesn't think that this will happen because basically it'll both be electoral and socially awful for them. Joel Godin here, 32,000 votes, 49% of the vote. He wouldn't get reelected. This would be end of his career. That's why I said before, I think Chris D'Entremont is hoping because it was so close, he can just take the Liberal vote and then hopefully he has a few people that like the guy and he'll pull those people over and be able to get voted in as Liberal again, because he only won by 500 votes. But in this case, that's not happening. Not to mention, it's not guaranteed that Chris D'Entremont will get to be able to run in the Liberal seat because there was a Liberal in that position before. And Carney's not going to want a rat on his team. He'll take the rat right now to get the votes, but then he's going to throw that rat in the garbage can where it belongs later. We got Dominic Vane, same thing, 49% of the vote. This would be ending his career. These are just rumors, but we're seeing the Matt Genereux one much more prevalent as rumor right now.
How many Conservatives has your caucus approached about joining the Liberal Party?
Well, I'd say the following. First, I want to underscore what I said at the start, how much I admire Chris D'Entremont, appreciate his joining the government caucus at this crucial time for our country. And I think that's the point to all MPs, wherever they're sitting in the House. This is
at this crucial time. The timing of that a little suspicious on budget day when this is such a bad budget, the worst budget in Canadian history, and suddenly he's joining there, takes the story and pushes his awful budget out of the news cycle. Give me a break.
How personally involved have you been in the floor crossing discussions?
The first and foremost, I'm going to go back.
He had the duper's delight there again. He just can't help himself. He's been very invested in it. That's what that little response is.
Mr. D'Entremont and I had discussion in advance of his decision, as was appropriate, because he wanted, I'm going to speak for you and you'll have a chance to speak to him afterwards, but if I may, I think he wanted to test what we were going to do in the budget and the scope of what's required and to see that there was the alignment. And you can see that there is that alignment. And
yeah, alarms are going off. The bull crap alarm is going off.
Just reinforce this is a time for us to come together as much as possible in the interests of our country.
Yeah, the interests of our country. It's in interest of D'Entremont. He either sees that he can run his career longer there and make more money, or Carney offered him something, whether it was in Parliament or whether it was out of Parliament. Something happened there. I don't think it was just the speaker situation. Something more is going on. What we know is Carney's a chronic liar, and we know that he is a smart man. He's devious, and he's far more conniving than I think the average population realizes.
Hi, Prime Minister Michael Couture with CTV News. You mentioned it just 2 seconds ago. Do you think I could ask a question of Mr. D'Entremont?
We'll arrange. Can I finish my press conference and then we'll have the more interesting press conference after?
What a train wreck!
This is equally
I'm the warm up.
In the same vein, though, how open are you to negotiations with other parties over this budget, or is it take it or leave it?
Well, look, there were differing degrees of input which we received from the various opposition parties, and I think there's
bull crap. He's not negotiating with anyone. He doesn't care because he's got another plan here, and his plan is coming out. Is to find the weak losers on the different benches, and maybe it comes from the Bloc bench or the NDP, entice them with something, they come over, he gets his majority. He doesn't want to run this fairly.
A lot in this budget. I know, in fact, that there's a lot in this budget that reflects the input from those parties.
Specific on what was in there from other parties?
Well, I
Do you
think,
they'd
I
go
mean,
for
it's
it?
more a question for the other parties, but I'm aware. Look, in many cases, there's again, an alignment in terms of what their priorities are.
He's not trying to work with the parties. This is so obvious. That's why he said it at the beginning. He had a plan from the start. So you can see with this next one here, Mark Carney gets asked about if he's in conversation with other people across the floor. His dupers like gives it up.
Hi, Prime Minister Tom Perry, CBC. I know you're willing to talk to anyone, but I'm wondering, are you or any members of your team actually in conversations with other members of the opposition to try to get them to join?
I'm in conversation with you right now, so I can't be talking to anyone else. But look,
He can't hold his facial expressions. So yes. Now, whether that's going to happen or not, we don't know, but he's definitely talking to people, and it's probably serious conversations.
the Parliament works well. I'm new to Parliament. My view is always I will talk to anyone. It's part of our job is to talk to each other. You get ideas. You learn a lot when you're listening more than you're talking. So we seek out different opinions. I do that. I do that with the premiers. I do it with other members of Parliament. We'll continue to do that.
If you get multiple people crossing the floor and he suddenly gets a majority, I can see Canadians wanting a class action lawsuit against people or just against the system being completely broken, because that's not how Canadians voted. And there's not going to be stability. It's going to be a rough go of it here going forward.